Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all. It's Bear here. And I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, A Box with No Lid. A channel I'm creating not just to bring the awareness around the lived reality of trauma and complex trauma, removal trauma, but I really want to bring forward not only just my own personal experiences in my many, many years as an advocate and as a practitioner, but what I really hoped to achieve with these videos is to break down what is often lost in psych terminology, in therapy terminology. Break it down into the day-to-day lived reality or the lived world of what it means in our day-to-day lives, so that these understandings can not only help create the conversations that we need to have to be able to move forward on our healing journeys, but also to be able to understand why things are the way they are and develop how we can start to make the changes so that we can develop and create the lives we seek and hope to live. For we all deserve to have the best lives. But there is so much and so often that has been placed in our path that has not been of our choice. That takes that from us until we understand how to make the changes we need to so that we can minimize it, mitigate it, or learn the skill sets to resolve it. And nothing like, there's the biggest obstacles that are placed in front of us is through adoption and foster care. And yes, this is the next video in the adoption series. And the obstacles that when you are removed and you are placed with non-biological family to be raised are huge. And as I said in these last few videos, I'm really just trying to step out the different facets and components of what is often referred to as the fog, from not only just a neurological perspective, but also an experience and life and personality perspective, and a decision-making perspective, and the decisions that we made as infants and as very young children that an adult would not cope making themselves. But these decisions are placed on very young children and infants to make because we are being placed. I am an adoptee. I was removed at birth. But this is the same when you're looking at foster care as well. There are subtle differences between adoption and foster care, and some of them have quite significant changes in adulthood. But the base is always the same. The base is we were taken and we were removed, regardless of the reasons for it, and placed with non-biological family to be raised. And I've stepped out over numerous videos, the implications of that, the structures of the fog. But in this video, I'm going to attempt to address something that, one, is going to piss a lot of people off, just a term that is used. But it is something that needs to be raised and discussed, and we need to have the courage to actually ask ourselves the question of how did I make sense of this? How did I, what did I do emotionally with this simple word? And that word is mistake. In the world that is foster care, in the world that is adoption, society views us as mistakes. We are the unwanted pregnancy. We are the unplanned pregnancy. We are the pregnancy that's resulted from abuse. We are the child that is removed because our parents were not capable of caring for us, or chose to relinquish, chose to give us up, or were taken through government policies. And there have been countless government policies over the years where, children of different ethnicities were just targeted and removed at birth, where the parents had no control. But society views us and has been taught to see us as a mistake because we were not raised in our biological family for all the reasons I just mentioned. And as hard as it is, and as triggering as it is something every single person that comes from an adoption or a foster care base, we have to explore within us how we made peace with that. how we have brought that understanding and how that understanding has grown throughout our life. Because we will hit its reflection in society throughout our life, especially when we're trying to deal with government departments, bureaucracy, or medical, hospitals or doctors, because we don't have family medical history, and all these things when we cannot answer their questions the way they require us to. When we make that statement, oh, well, I came from foster care, or I came from adoption, I don't have access to blah, 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 they instantly change how we are viewed. Society has been taught to have this view because politicians get on podiums at will all the time and target sectors of society to steer threats from their failings and target society's anger to different sections of society. The unwanted, the poor, welfare recipients, immigrants and so forth and so forth. Politicians have done that for eons. They do it every day. And that conditions a society where anything is different or outside of norm, you're automatically a lower class. When we come at it from adoption, or when we come at it from foster care and with records and gaps in our records and so forth, we meet that. And we have to prove that we're part of the family that raises. We have to prove that we are who we are. There's all these different times where there is a reinforcement of the neurological structures of the fog, of that survival state created by our removal. And it also embeds in us, as part of that process, to continue needing to prove who we are. By having an understanding of how we processed, in truth, being a mistake, being unplanned, being unwanted, being removed, how we make sense of that, and how the way we made sense of that evolves, I believe is really important. Simply because in our most day-to-day, it's not even there. But there'll be multiple times in our life where it'll be thrown in our face. And how we respond, if we don't keep that understanding growing, very often becomes unmeasured. And we overreact, or we react in a way that does us harm. And that's what I hope to change in this video. Not only to bring the awareness of how society always views us, right, wrong, or indifferent. In all my years of advocacy, the moment you make that other person on the other side of that counter or that desk or in that meeting have to step out of their normal procedure because your very presence doesn't match up with the procedures that they've been instructed to follow, you are instantly lowered. They don't see that it's not your fault. They don't see that you're a child removed and placed. They see you as a problem. And that evolves into they see you as a mistake. You are something that society had to find a way to fix, to find a place for you. And there's all these processes that go with that. And as difficult as this video is to make, as much as I don't want to piss a whole bunch of adoptees or foster care people off, it is something that needs to be talked about. It needs to be raised and understood. We need to have the discussions with those who care about us and around us. We need to take the journey in ourselves with their support to understand, how did we answer that question? When we're little kids and we look at other parents, with other kids with their parents, and they look the same, or, we have to go back to the group home and the other kids get to go to their family. How do we make sense of that? How do we make sense of that to the point of where society labeled us and taught us those labels, and those labels cap a jar of absolute turmoil and emotion, and all contained within a jar that in a lot of adoptees we call the fog. How do we make sense of it? And being a mistake, being an unwanted pregnancy, being an unplanned pregnancy, being the consequence of abuse, being removed because our parents were incapable. Society sees as a mistake. We're not. I don't for a second believe that I think we are. But it is a word that carries a meaning that matches so much of our lives and how society views us and how we are viewed. And how, when we are harmed, how that harm has been justified. And how our value is demeaned or dismissed because we dare challenge that harm. That is the base of this video. And the core part of it is we need support. We need to open up to those the few people that we really trust and care about, and have a sit down over a meal and just ask them to participate in helping you understand how you interpreted this. Because it's at the heart of so many facets of our emotional self. And we need help because we're designed that way. We can't do this one alone. We need help to process this. And not just once, it's an ongoing thing. Because it all shapes how we connect and how we're part of our core family, our core group of people. And we need different perspectives to help broaden the terms that we relate to and the feelings that go past just words and labels. The real part of the mistake analogy, or the word mistake, is the emotions behind it and how that plays out inside us in our darkest moments and when we're confronted, when we're heavily emotionally confronted. This is a difficult video to make. And I want to keep on exploring the fog in this regard. And these are difficult videos to make and difficult videos to watch. I want you guys to be mindful of this, but I also want you guys to understand how important it is. Because we're exploring the emotions that are the base of our personality so that we can choose to make the changes where we choose to make the changes ourselves, to fill those gaps and to get the life we so rightly deserve. I really hope this video makes sense and is valued and is understood. Please keep it in the context that it's meant in. Please be mindful. Please be safe. I thank you guys for your time, and I'll see you all next time.